So tell us more about this situation on this northern front.
Yeah, it's moving day by day, and the two areas that we're interested in is Lipsy and Vovchansk. And the issue is that if the Russians can push towards Lipsy, then it brings Kharkiv within artillery range, and they'll do what the only really thing that they're good at, which is standing back and destroying an area with artillery and then moving into it. But more important, ultimately, is probably what's happening to Vovchansk, and they seem to put more effort in here, because if they can take Vovchansk, which is on the other side of the Donetsk River, then it sets them up to do something else, maybe to move southwards and possibly eastwards to link up with other troops. That would be a big move. The Ukrainians obviously want to prevent that, and in a way, whatever the Russians intend, they've now met their first objective, which is to make Ukraine detach troops from elsewhere to deal with this. Because the Ukrainians have moved some of their good units, parts of their 47th Mechanized Brigade, really good ones, 92nd, 93rd, the 57th, they're all good units, and they've taken elements of all of those brigades and sent them north in order to stem this advance. So it's had that effect. The Ukrainians are digging in properly. They're defending better than they were to start with. So this is probably going to be a static front unless the Russians can produce more material to push through. And if they do, of course, the Ukrainians will have to meet that. So it's stretching Ukraine even further during the period when they are under strain all the way around the front.
Well, as Zelensky said as well, they seem to have pushed some back. So it seems there is some movement around that battle line. And we've heard from President Putin as well, talking about an increase in defence spending. How significant is that?
Yes, so he made a statement today talking about increased defence spending. I mean, defence spending since before the war has gone up about threefold, about 300%. And so it is now about 8% of the Russian economy, and that's a lot of money. And Belousov, the new defence minister, of course, is an economist. I mean, he's a man who had been a previous deputy prime minister. He'd been an acting prime minister. He was minister for economic affairs. And Belousov is a straightforward technocrat. And he's very statist. He's often described as an illiberal economist. That's him. Because he believes in state control. And he's very close, partly through Manturov, that he's also put in to be now first deputy prime minister, who directly connects to Rostec, which is the big state arms producer. So the arms producer of the state is now very close to the very top of government and the defence minister himself. And so he will push greater efficiency in this economy, but it's going to make it look a bit more like the old Soviet economy when it was still a communist system. And it'd be interesting to see that dynamic, because that worked completely oppositely to the way in which the oligarchs around Putin have done their business until now.
Interesting to see how that arrangement can last and how long it can last for.
Absolutely. And the Russian economy is still very dependent on energy. It's oil and gas. I mean, other areas of the economy, they struggle a bit and they're not very dynamic. And the Russian energy production is, as they say, mature. They've got maturity out of their oil fields and their gas fields. They need to find more oil and gas. They know it's up there in the Arctic, but they need Western technology to get at it. And one of the problems they've got is how do they create the technology over the next 10 years to get at the new sources of energy that will be their route towards making this economy work better.